Hello and welcome to this video, which will be going through stage 2 pre-production for your self-directed multimedia projects. You've been here before, you've been through this process before, so most of this may be a bit of review, but it still is very important to watch this video just to make sure you are up to speed with how the course is moving along and what is expected of you. So in stage 2, you will get your creative ideas out and develop a creative framework for your project development. Examples of pre-production work include mood boards, sketches, storyboards, scripts, wireframes, etc. And so in this video, I will go through some guidelines, an overview of this stage, as well as information for your supervisor meeting, which will take place during this stage, and then details for your submission. First off, if we open up actually the critical path for the course, you'll see weeks 1 and 2 is when you were working on stage 1, doing your research and planning work. There was a drop-in session as well for Q&A at that point. I did modify this critical path a little bit. Initially, the supervisor meetings were running through weeks 4 through 6, but I realized that week 6, that Monday, is actually technically a holiday. So I've moved up the meetings to instead start with week 3, and so then they'll just be taking place all during the stage 2 phase of your project. So given that, when we meet, we can talk about your proposal, but also any pre-production work you've been doing at that point as well. So keep that in mind, and I'll talk a bit more about your supervisor meetings later in this video. But just to let you know that that's a shift that happened in the critical path, is moving these supervisor meetings to be for weeks 3 through 5 rather than weeks 4 through 6. So that's the critical path, but I'll go ahead and jump into the overview here. So you've reached stage 2 pre-production for your multimedia project. The goal of this stage is to turn your ideas into a tangible format, laying a solid foundation for the next phase, production. So in stage 1, you set the foundation for the idea of what your project is going to be, right? You have a plan for it. Now in pre-production, you start actually getting those creative ideas out, and they should be a bit messy, right? Sketches, sort of quick things here and there. They shouldn't be the most refined things yet. That's what the production stage is for. And you'll notice too, these stages really, they are all about preparing you for the following stage, right? So stage 1 had you getting the grand scope of your whole project, but in a lot of ways it just set the foundation so that you can now start working on something in the pre-production phase, right? Start actually doing some things, getting your creative ideas out. Then all of the work you do in the pre-production stage helps build the foundation for the production stage so that you can then start actually creating final assets and refining them and making them nice and polished. And then that leads you to finalizing it with final tweaks and delivering it in stage 4. So you can really just see how each stage builds upon each other and how each stage is kind of there to just help you onto the next phase of your project. Purpose of stage 2, this stage is all about brainstorming and organizing your ideas. You'll create sketches, mood boards, storyboards, scripts, wireframes, or whatever fits your individual project. You're all working on all kinds of different things here, so it makes sense that one person's pre-production work may be a bit different than the next person. So it's kind of up to you to determine and figure out what is the pre-production work you need to complete to ensure you reach those goals that you have for this project. If you're having trouble of what pre-production work or tasks to do, you can consider asking ChatGPT, right? It's a great tool to have for independent learning. You could say, hey, here's the goals of the project I'm working on right now. What's some pre-production work I could be doing to help along this process, right? Hopefully you already have some of that detailed in your project plan, but if you do find yourself stuck at this point, ChatGPT can help you to give you some ideas of what you should be working on. You can also, of course, reach out to me. I'm sort of the human ChatGPT on Blackboard Messenger to also help you along if you are stuck or have any questions about what would be good to be working on at this stage. Key takeaway, the more detailed and thorough your pre-production work is, the smoother your production stage will be. Instead of jumping directly into design software like Figma or After Effects, use this time to get your ideas onto paper or digital equivalents first. This ensures you're working from a clear, developed creative plan rather than just ideas in your head. Once again, this course is all about trying to stop you from just having an idea and going immediately into Figma or After Effects and making the final thing there. Because the difficulty with that is that then your ideas are coming out at the same time that you're trying to produce final assets. And that can lead to messiness, right? And it can lead to kind of unfinished work. It can lead to frustration as well, potentially on your part. So really forcing you to have this pre-production stage to first get your ideas out there, right? Then it's all laid out and you've gone through sort of the messiness project of what your creative ideas are, so that when you get into production, it's a much smoother phase for you, right? So keep that in mind, right? It's really all of this is meant to help you in the long run with project development. Stage 2 breakdown is one part lasting 3 weeks long, and you'll be completing your pre-production work at this stage, as well as attending your required supervisor meeting with me. And remember to include a timesheet in your stage 2 submission, so be keeping track of the hours and the time you spend on this project, as well as an updated project timeline with your checked off tasks. Use this time to explore all your creative ideas so that by the time you reach the production stage, everything is clearly laid out and ready for development, right? So again, it's all about this incremental process of going through these projects. Your supervisor meeting will take place during this stage. Guidelines for that are here. So access the schedule on Blackboard. I'll show you that in just a second. It's split into 2 sections, RNA and RNB, depending on what's in your course schedule. Meetings will take place over 3 weeks. Note your specific time and week to know when to expect to be meeting. Just like last time around, I'll meet with the teams overall. So there'll be, each team has a 50-minute block, with each member having 10 minutes one-on-one with me. And there's a dedicated Microsoft Teams link for you to access. And I ask for you to be present for the full 50 minutes, not just your individual 10-minute slot. Use the time when I'm meeting one-on-one to connect with your team or work independently on your project, but this also kind of forces the remote teams to have to know each other exists. So being present during that whole block is important to connect with one another, and that means you can log that full time in your timesheet as well. Take notes. You're encouraged, of course, to take notes during the meeting because this is a resource for you, so it's important for you to be able to access later on what was discussed, what advice or input was given. The notes aren't required to submit, but I do strongly encourage you still take them, as that is a great practice to have. Attendance and timesheets. If you attend your meeting slot on time, log 1 hour into your next timesheet. And if you're more than 10 minutes late or miss your meeting without giving 24 hours notice, you must schedule a makeup meeting and use a late waiver. Now remember, there's only one late waiver this semester in this class, so you don't really want to have to use it for that. So please let me know ahead of time if you're going to miss the meeting, and please be on time. This is all about developing professional skills and professional habits. And so in a professional scenario, you wouldn't want someone to be expecting you to be present at a particular time and you aren't there, right? That leads to issues and difficulties, especially if you didn't communicate anything ahead of time. So keep that in mind. Test out Microsoft Teams beforehand if you need to make sure that your microphone and all of that works. Just things to keep in mind. Makeup meeting. If you do end up having to do a makeup meeting and you've missed your first meeting, then you'll use a late waiver in your next submission. And there's a link to book makeup meetings, all at availability based on how many makeup meetings are needed. So ideally, there won't have to be that many. So please just be present to your meeting on time. The schedules are here, once again, organized by sections RNA, RNB, and you'll open it up. You'll see, just like last time, very similar format, right? Each team, remote team, is given 50 minutes and is given a dedicated room, and you'll be in there, and I'll go through it one by one. So you should be there during the full block of time. Make sure you know which week you are meeting, right? For RNA, I'll be meeting with weeks 3 and 4. RNB is a bigger section, so that will take weeks 3, 4, and 5. So keep this in mind. Very important for you to take note of when your meeting is and ensure you're there on time. And these are in the dedicated times you have in your course schedules, so that should be free time that you have when you don't have any other courses. So keep that in mind, that you're expected to be free during that block of time so you can meet with me. This is the one required supervisor meeting this semester, like I said, because of the condensed timeline and the number of students, as well as this being your second time through this process, so you should be able to handle things a bit more on your own as well. But these meetings will be very important, especially at this stage of the project, because it's still kind of in the early stages, so it'll make sure that you are on a good track for success for the rest of the semester. There will be a drop-in later on in the semester as well for you to come to with any questions you may have at that point in time. You'll also be meeting with your peers for a peer feedback later on in the semester, so you will still be getting input on your work throughout this process. But this is the one required one-on-one meeting that we will have. And of course, you can always reach out to me on Blackboard with any questions. I'm always available there to answer your inquiries. That leads to the Stage 2 submission, which is due February 2nd. You'll include a timesheet of your Stage 2 pre-production tasks, an updated project plan with checked off tasks from the weeks that you have completed work, and examples of your pre-production work. There's a very basic template here where you can see, stage 1, it'll be stage 2 project work, and then you can put your work tasks from your timesheet here, so storyboarding, and then some screenshots of your storyboards, right? Script development, and then your script. And so keep that in mind. This is here as something to tie into your timesheet to show the tasks that you have completed. Your timesheet should reflect the following tasks. So pre-production work, specify what that means though. Don't just say pre-production work, say that it's sketching or lo-fi wireframes or whatever it is you are doing. Self-directed learning, if you do any research at this stage, if you watch any tutorials, anything like that, that counts as, project work time. So specify that and include that as well as your supervisor meeting. So log an hour for that, as we will be meeting and you'll be there during that time with your team and with me one-on-one. Submission guidelines, same as always. If you want any specific feedback requests, please include it in the comment box in a professional message. Submit PDFs as direct attachments, not as a zip folder. Please include the requested deliverables to receive credit. And if submitting late, use a late waiver with your submission. And that covers it, right? Like I said, should be a bit more straightforward this time around. You've been through this before. This is just a whole new project, in a different sort of timeline that you're working with. But confident in your ability to still get some great pre-production work completed during this stage. And I'm here as a resource with any questions or concerns you have during this stage. But I have confidence in your ability to maintain your development on this project week to week and ensure that you are getting your ideas out and slowly building on this grand project you are working on. So with that, I will simply say best of luck as you work on the pre-production stage, and I will be seeing you during this stage too. So looking forward to it.